In our last lesson, we have seen how to create a database using DBCA. DBCA is an automated way of creating a database. Let us learn how to create a database using manual method. In real time, nobody uses the manual method, but for your understanding, we have this topic in place. All the steps that we are going to follow are nothing but the same steps performed by DBCA in the backend. Let us start the activity. First of all, you need to make sure that Oracle database software is already installed on the server. Next is we'll be creating a parameter file and start the database instance. Now, how do we create the parameter file? What we can do is we can copy the existing parameter file from another database and edit it as per our requirement. Now, sometimes you might not have a parameter file on the same server. What you can do is you can copy a parameter file from any other server where Oracle database is running. So generally the parameter file is found under Oracle Home DBS location. Let us start with this step. Over here I have connected to the Linux server. Let us go to the DBS location, cd Oracle Home /DBS ls-lrt init star. The parameter file name starts with init. There are two types of parameter file. One is sp file and one is p file. P file is human readable file which starts with init. Now we can see that there is one parameter file for our prod.db. We can check our prod.db instances already up and running. Right. Now what we'll do is we'll copy this prod.db parameter file and we will create dev.db database with manual method. So let me copy cp init dev db.aura. Over here we are going to create a database with sid dev.db. Right? Now that we have copied the parameter file, but the contents inside the dev.db are same as the prod.db. So what we need to do is we need to edit the dev.db parameter file in order to reflect the parameters related to dev.db. First of all, open this parameter file using vi editor. We will replace the prod.db with dev.db in the entire file. So what you can do is %s /prod.db and I want to replace it with dev.db /globally. Enter. Now in the entire file, wherever we had prod.db, it has been replaced by dev.db. You can see everywhere it has replaced the dev.db, and even the database name is also replaced as dev.db, right? Now just save the file and exit. So we are done with the second step. Next step is we need to create respective directories as per the parameter file. Now if you cat the parameter file, there are so many directory locations. Now because we have replaced prod.db with dev.db, these locations do not exist at physical level. So what we need to do is we need to create these locations manually. So how can we do that? mkdir-p. First we'll create this location, then the control file location. Don't give the control file name, only location. This file will be created automatically. Space, and then we will give the location of second control file, and then core dump destination, and this destination is already there. That's the Oracle base location, so we don't have to worry about it. And finally user dump destination. So whatever locations you see in the parameter file, just create them. Next, we need to set the environmental variables to connect to the new SID. Now we need to export Oracle SID to dev.db because we want to start the dev.db instance. So export Oracle underscore SID equal to dev.db. Now if you check the environmental variables env grep aura, we can see that Oracle SID is set to dev.db and Oracle Home is set to the default Oracle home. Now, whatever operations that you do via SQL Plus, it will connect to DevDB. It won't impact the prod DB which is already running, right? Because our SID is set to DevDB. Great. Now what we need to do is we need to issue create database statement. Now before even issuing this create database statement, what you need to make sure is undo tablespace name is same in parameter file and also create database statement. This is your create database statement that will create a database. Inside this create database statement, you have a place where you mention the undo tablespace name. This undo tablespace name should be exactly equal to the undo tablespace name which is inside your parameter file. If the name is not correct, you will get error in the database creation. So make sure undo tablespace name is exactly same in both parameter file and your create database statement. Now first of all, let us start the instance. We'll issue startup no mount, connect to SQL Plus /SSDBA, startup no mount. Do not worry about obsolete or depreciated parameters. Okay guys, we have an error over here which says unable to create audit trail file, which means we have missed creating one directory or some directory from the parameter file. Let us go ahead and figure it out. Exit. First check the pmon. Now we can see that devdb instance has been started, but it is saying that unable to create audit trail file. No such file or directory. Let us cat the init devdb.aura file, and this is the audit file destination. Oracle is complaining that it is not able to create any file inside this location because this location does not exist. So let us create this location. Done. Now what we'll do is we'll once again connect to the database. I'm just shutting down the instance and we'll start the instance once again. So startup no mount. Remember, you can issue the create database statement only when your instance is in no mount stage. Perfect. We can see that our Oracle instance has been started. Now let us analyze the create database statement. This statement is the one which creates a database in no mount stage. The syntax is create database. You provide the database SID. In our case, it is devdb. Next, we give the username sys identified by the sys password, and you will also have to mention user system identified by whatever the system user password you want to keep. You can put it over there. Next, we have log file group 1. There are two redo log groups over here with one redo log member in each group, and we can see the size of each redo log member is 100 MB. Next, we have this data file. Remember, this is your system data file, and we are giving the size as 325 MB. Next, we have sysox data file. This is the data file which will be used for our sysox table space. Size is 325 MB. Next is default temporary table space temp, and temp file is, this is the temp file, size is 20 MB. And at the end you specify undo table space, give the name of the undo table space, you specify the data file, and the size is 200 MB. Now this create database statement has a lot of parameters, but these parameters are the minimum required parameters in order to create a database manually. So you have to specify these things in order to create a database. The create database statement has lot more parameters, but these are the minimum which are sufficient to create a database. Let us run this create database statement, but before running this statement, again, we also see that there are further some locations inside the create database statement. So we need to manually create these locations on the Linux server So let us copy this location. I'm exiting from the instance, mkdir-p. Now this is the location where we will be keeping all our data file control files and the redo log, undo and temp files. Great. Rest all, we can see that locations are same. In case if you want to keep different locations, you can also change these locations over here, but make sure you create those locations on the physical Linux server. Now what I'll do is I'll go ahead and run this create database command. Before continuing, check the environmental variables. Your Oracle SID must be set to devdb. SQL plus /ssdba. Now copy create database statement and just hit enter. Now at the backend, the database is being created, so it will take little time to create the database depending on the size of the data files that you specify. Great, the database has been created. Now the beauty about this command is once the database is created, automatically your database will be in open state. You can check this by select name comma open underscore mode from $database. We can see that database name is devdb and database is in read-write mode, which means users can connect to this database and use the database. Once your database is created, you need to run some post db create scripts. Now these three are the minimum required scripts that you need to run in every manual db creation. Don't worry, you don't have to run these scripts when you create a database using dbca. Only when you are creating a database using manual method, you need to run these three scripts. The first one is catalog.sql. When you run this script will automatically create all the views on base tables, which will help a DBA to check different details inside the database. Now we can see that the script has been completed. Let us run the second script. This is catproc.sql. The second script will create necessary PLSQL procedures which are used by a DBA in order to perform different activities inside the database. Always make sure these scripts are completed successfully. Great. The second script will take a little longer time, and once the script is completed, go ahead and run the third script. This is pup build script. Sometimes it's not required to run the script, but it's always good to run the script. Great. So we have completed the postdb create scripts also. Now we have to go ahead and update the /etc oratab file with our new database details. This is the file /etc/oratab file which has list of all the databases which are created on a Linux server. Let us go ahead and first check this file. Exit cat/etc/oratab file. This file resides under etc location. Now if you read through this file, you can just leave all these lines which starts with hash. Hash is nothing but comment, but the last line is nothing but your database that has been created on this server. We can see there is only one entry, that is protdb. This is the Oracle home, and this N means do you want to start the database when the operating system comes up or not. Now because we have created devdb using manual method, we have to manually go ahead and update this etc oratab file. If you are creating a database using dbca, you don't need to do this step. It will be automatically taken care by the dbca. Now open this file vi/etc/oratab. Go to the end of the file, put the details of our devdb colon. Both these databases have same Oracle home. and you can just put n at the end, save and exit. Once again cat the file. Great. Now we have both database entries over there, right? Don't forget to update this file because sometimes you might manually create a database and you forget to update this file. Later on, if somebody wants to figure out how many databases are there on this server, your database will be missed and people will not be able to figure out the SID of the database which they can connect and start. Of course, there are other methods, but make sure this step is not missed. Right. So once you are done with the manual DB creation, one important step is connecting different databases via oraenv. Now Oracle provides you a utility that is oraenv, with which using which you can connect to different databases. Now before even understanding this point, let us understand how do we connect to a database. Now if you remember correctly, initially we have set bash profile. Let me just take you guys to the bash profile. .bash profile. Inside bash profile, we have set Oracle SID to prod_db. Our Oracle home is normal Oracle home, right? Every time if you connect to the server, you want to connect to devdb, you will have to type export Oracle SID equal to devdb. Later on, you want to connect to prod_db, you will once again have to export Oracle SID equal to prod_db. With this way, if you have more than 3 or 4 databases, it becomes very difficult to switch between multiple databases. For this, Oracle provides a beautiful utility called as oraenv. What you can do is just type dot, give a space and type oraenv. That means you want to set Oracle environmental variables. Hit enter. It will ask you which SID do you want to connect. Right now it is set to prod_db. But let's take I want to connect to devdb. I will type devdb, enter. And automatically the Oracle home details and other details for this database will be picked up from oratab file, which we updated in our last step. Let us connect to the database SQL plus /SSDBA. Select name, comma, open underscore mode from $database. We can see we are connected to devdb. Exit. Now I want to connect to prod_db. What I can do is dot space oraenv, and then the current Oracle SID is set to devdb. I will say I want to connect to prod_db, and then once again type SQL plus /SSDBA. Select name, comma, open underscore mode from $database. Now see, we are connected to prod_db. This way, by using the oraenv utility, you can switch between different Oracle databases. Now you will have a question, when we have a oraenv utility, then why do we place Oracle SID in bash profile? If you check the bash profile, cat.bash profile, inside bash profile you must always set the Oracle SID for the database which is most frequently accessed. On every server you will have a database which is very frequently accessed. So what you can do is you can set Oracle SID in the bash profile. Let's take in our case prod_db is the database which is accessed frequently. So what we do is we set Oracle SID to prod_db by default under bash profile. Now when we feel like we want to connect to other database, we can use oraenv, and then we can definitely connect to the other database. So this is how you create a database manually. Of course, as mentioned earlier, this method is not used in real time because of human errors and other errors which might occur during the activity. Most of the time, or 99% of the time, everyone will go with DBCA. It's an easy an automated method of database creation. But as a DBA, you should know what goes inside DBCA.